Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
So, G, have you been to the movies recently?
Of course. I usually go at least once a week. Yeah. What did I see recently? I saw Final Destination. It was fine. It's worth going to see, but I don't think it's like, it's not going to make my top of 2025.
Yeah, I assumed it wouldn't. If I can ever convince my wife to go to a movie with me, it would not be Final Destination. It would have been Thunderbolts, but alas, Thunderbolts, by the time I'm going to get to see it, it's probably going to be streaming. So
it probably will be streaming, yes.
Yeah, but I have been watching like Mobland, Taskmaster Season 19, things that I can easily access from home,
Right.
That's what I've been doing. And I lost my damn headphones. So that was really it's been like a week, and I don't know how, like in my household, like we have a rule that you're not supposed to be like super loud with music, or you're not, we have a couple people living here.
Sure.
And, it's really difficult to get throughout the day without listening to a book on tape or listening to a show, or, I've been listening to Villains on YouTube. It's like bad guys getting caught, in like the police interrogation, like recordings and stuff like that.
Okay, kind of like body cam footage that they used to do on cops and stuff, kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's done by a guy who does audit the audit. He's an auditor who audits other civil rights auditors. Pretty entertaining, pretty interesting, So been cooking. Also been cleaning a lot. Man, this last event, we might actually have to do a whole episode dedicated to that, because I don't have any pictures put on our Discord for it, or put up yet for them. But Dakotah was at that event, and so was Giacomo. Giacomo, do you want to tell them how Giacomo the orc boss, got his name?
Yeah, so there was a time where I was on an interview with Glass Half Dead, and the prelude to that, he said, and I'm going to be with one of the guys who's doing Baltimore. I think his name is Giacomo, and that's how that came to be, and that's how it exists now in the universe.
That is exactly how the actual Giacomo came to existence. But at the event, Dakotah, right? Which was a war boss. I painted my face green. It was a little sketchy, but we got through it. I said that Giacomo came around because you whacked a guy named Mo.
That's the canon we're going to go with.
Yeah,
that's the one I like. I like them both because the birth of the name is funny.
Yeah, I put on contacts. I painted my face green, or I didn't paint my face green. My wife waved her wand because she's related to Harry Potter and turned me green. Then I put on a horrible accent the entire day, and it was quite a fun time. And
it did, it changed throughout the day.
Yeah, I told everyone I was smoking Prometheum, and that's how I came up with all the maps. Because they were all quite insane and crazy and a lot of fun. And I also told everyone, if I yelled out WOG and they didn't also yell out, if they also didn't WOG with me, right, I would walk up to the table and give them all ones on their next roll. So every time I WOG'd, every single person in the room also WOG'd. It was quite great. Well, we have a lot of photos, a lot of stuff to show you guys. Giacomo, have you processed any of those yet, or have you been?
I have a handful done.
Vespids.
I have a handful done that I was working on today. It's all just been the pictures of the models, so I haven't done any of the stuff of the people, or at least not too many, because I didn't put them on my phone yet. Because it's just easier to edit on my phone. I could go to the computer upstairs, but I don't want to. So I've got some of those. I'll probably share that later today after this. Yeah, it was a good event. A lot of people having a good time. There's a lot of smiles, a lot of rolls, a lot of intensity when everyone's just really focusing on their game. You always get those kind of candid photos, and a lot of models, people doing pretty good job with their paint jobs. I was very happy to see a majority of things that I didn't see before, which is nice. A lot of newer faces. They've come before, but now they're being more consistent, which is cool too.
Absolutely. And a lot of people that we typically don't see, that we normally see at events, weren't there. So, can't give a shout out to Alexander Popov if he doesn't come to our event. He had to stay home that day. So
Yeah, he was busy that weekend.
He was.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess we'll get this show on the road, and we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about today. Today, it's actually interesting. We're going to do another tier list,
Mm-hmm. But it's not just any tier list, everybody. It's a
beginner's tier list,
there
to
we
be
go.
honest.
Yes.
So, if you are looking into podcasts, or if you're listening to this in the future, hopefully we can try to guide you on what is S tier to D tier. Now, there is a caveat, right, on, I think, tier lists in general, right? They're a lot up to, personal satisfaction, or, what people think typically, right? I've been playing Kill Team for quite some time, and I've been playing Warhammer since the year of 2000, right? So I'm an old head. I've been doing this for quite some time. And I'm definitely opinionated, and that's why I'm a content creator, right?
Yep.
In my opinion, I think the best thing to do is you find a team that looks cool, and you stick with whatever rules it is, how hard it is to paint, because whatever you like visually is going to bring you more engagement into reading lore, into learning the rules about that team, no matter how difficult it is. So while this will help people who want to know how hard their team is or how much money they have to invest, there is a caveat of like, hey, just rule of cool, pick what you think.
Exactly.
Giacomo, what do you think up front?
Up front in terms of how you should pick a team, or just in general of difficulty of picking teams?
Well, either or,
let's do difficulty of picking teams, right? Because I think the number one question I usually will see around the internet and around people who are just starting the hobby is, what is the easiest thing to play, right? And I usually think that's generally not the best answer. It's more like, what's your play style? Like, what do you seem to like, right? Or you could just go up to the shelf and go, of this shelf, what do you think looks the coolest? What do you like?
Yeah, to be honest, some people won't even know their play style. Like, you just got to get into the game and start playing it. Pick a team you think's cool and go. Yeah,
I honestly think that might be the way to go. Like, that's probably the best method. And obviously, of course, people worry about money and stuff, but like you mentioned earlier, you're going to be more passionate about the models you like. You're going to be more willing to want to finish them and play them, right? So I think that is always the best place to go. However, if you can have some information ahead of time, like this video here, this podcast you're listening to / video, then this can help you make an informed decision. And that's how we should be looking at content like this, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I will say as well, we are recording this live in front of our Patreon audience. So at the end of the video, if they have pertinent questions, we will answer them, and then we'll sign off. Now, we're going to start from the beginning, right? There is a small caveat that beginners who aren't used to Kill Team should know, right? There is something called classified and declassified. Not all tournaments are going to be ran classified or declassified. What that means is Games Workshop only is focusing competitively on specific teams, right? They don't want the game to swell to 60, 70 teams, right? So they are getting rid of specifically the first season teams. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to stop supporting the teams. So they've said. That also doesn't mean that your local events aren't going to stop running with those teams. When that cutoff is, they have not told anyone. So we don't know if that's in September, or if it's in January, if it's sometime next year, if it's sometime this year. Maybe it's in October after Worlds. Who knows, right? So do realize that when we talk about the beginning 13 or 14 teams, if you're interested in going to a Games Workshop event or certain other large competitive events, your team that you've chosen might not be allowed. I will say that all of our events and a lot of events on the West Coast are not going to be going classified, declassified. And I've said this before. I think that personally, selling teams still and then just getting rid of them in a couple of months is a problem, and it hurts the community, right? When we look at Magic the Gathering or other systems that do this kind of thing, they get rid of that. They stop selling the cards after a couple of months, and then nearly 2 years later, the cards go away, right? They're no longer allowed in standard format, right?
Right.
It's not just like hey, we're going to sell these guys this month and next month they're gone, Now, they have never sold some of these teams in a box set. Some of these teams have never been sold, right? Like that's all the White Dwarf teams and all those you could expect maybe even teams like us will also get rid of sooner than later, right? Just to help with the bloat. Giacomo, what do you think?
I think I understand why they would want to get rid of it. But at the end of the day, I think if you're going to put the time into your models, you should be able to get to play them for as long as available, like you mentioned. Because if you can buy it on the shelf, it would be upset to I remember buying Shadow War Armageddon and then Kill Team 2018 came out like a month later. And it's now nobody played it, right? So that's the worst feeling, right? So hopefully this beginner guide can also help you with that and decide maybe you want to pick something that's a little more future proof at the time of this recording.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Depending on how competitive you want to be, right? Like if you're planning on going to Worlds, maybe some of these first season teams won't be allowed. We don't know. But, they will be allowed at quite a lot of other places. So please, the community needs to keep that in mind. All right. And that is really important for beginners to know while selecting something, right? It is important. Okay. So first up, the very first team that we're going to be talking about today is Commandos. Commandos and Veteran Guard, now known as Death Corps, were both released. Hey, Giacomo, since Death Corps got a name change, does that mean that they get another 4 years of life?
Unfortunately, no, because they specifically put it in their article that this team doesn't get anything different, correct. Which we will get back to because there's another team that did get rebranded and they have a full new lease on life. They do. Because it's a special child. Oh yeah, I'm a fan of him too. Yeah, I made them. So
So I think we should basically make the tier list go as thus. S tier is you just need to buy one box, right? And the rules are simple, right? I think A tier.
I think that's a good caveat. Yeah.
Yeah. I think A tier is kind of like one box, right? And I think it's going to be one box and the rules are difficult.
They're less forgiving, right? So if you make mistakes, you're probably going to lose harder, but the ceiling could be higher, right? So it's more difficult to start with.
Yeah. Also, I would also put maybe a 2-box team that has really simple rules in it, right?
Yeah, that could earn you an A tier, right? Because it's easier to get along with. Thankfully, GW has been mostly good about their Kill Team box releases being a 1 box, even if it's not the most optimal.
Correct. All of these teams are playable in 1 box. All of these teams are, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, even the White Dwarfs you could play with just...
Not Warp Coven. Nope, not Warp Coven.
I mean, I think you can forego...
maybe with just a rubrics.
Yeah, you could just forego and just play the rubrics, which would just be kind of like awful. Yeah, so in theory, everything... We'll get to those teams when we get to them.
We will.
But yeah.
Also, and then I think like B tier is kind of like definitely 2-box teams and harder rule sets, and we'll just kind of go cascading from there. And I think D tier is just like a lot of expensive box sets, or just
like, is it really worth it?
Box set is expensive, right? So,
and is the team even that good to use, like in the long run, kind of stuff? Yeah,
currently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Well, then, if we're starting with Commandos and Death Corps, I think Commandos personally get. I want to put them in S, but I think A is what I would put them in. How about you?
I put them in S tier, my guy. 100% S tier. And I'll tell you why. Firstly, it is one of the most quintessential kill teams, in my opinion. right? And I think that the team has legs at every level. It's really cool. It's really thematic, right? And the rules are not innately difficult. They are not hard to understand. And it's one box. You buy one box and it's done.
Yeah. I think that's usually the reason why I'm thinking of putting in an S tier. In terms of new player stuff, I don't know if everyone's going to figure out all the skills right away, but it's a very straightforward team. So yes. I can relent and leave them in S tier. Yeah, that is a team. If you got commandos and you asked what to build, literally build all the specialists, you're set to go. You don't got to worry about deciding whether you need to take this certain version or this version. It's very easy to pick up and start assembling and then getting to play.
Absolutely. You can even build every single specialist from the box and like a boy, and then you can still like run it, and it's like you have everything that you'd want. Deathcore, on the other hand, I would argue for B or C tier.
B for sure. That's how I was thinking them. Unfortunately, with this box, you do get 10, and technically you can play the game. Like we mentioned, everything is technically playable. However, if you want to play it optimized, I think you must usually take the extra models, and they have such a huge list of models, which you'd have to spend extra bodies to make. And
they're not a one box kill team because they have 14 models now. Exactly.
That's what I mean.
Minimum. Yeah.
Oh, if it's 14 the minimum, I thought you could still do 10 with all the bonuses. Nope. Really?
Oh, I guess you could do 10 and then you could get 4 ploys for free.
Yeah. So technically it's just kind of not optimized right. And so if you play it, you're going to find out like this doesn't really hit anything and you need to have those bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, also the rules are rather difficult. They released this edition. Enough. This is the team that I made, right? For what? 3 years?
When it was, before they got a real big change, which just brought them down, right? It's harder to play. It's you still have to buy 2 boxes.
They've had a 24% win rate for quite some time, and they've gotten back-to-back buffs. Is the team viable now? Who knows? I think the team is fun, right? But there is a common question on Reddit. How do I build this team?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What operatives do I take in with this team? And this is the reason why I put it in C tier. One of the reasons why I got off of Reddit is specifically because this question would come up so often. It came up in Discords. It came up everywhere. And I get it. It's a difficult team. It's a difficult team to understand what operatives to take. And it's even worse now because some operatives are a trap. Don't take the Mind Layer. He's awful. Or she's awful. However you model them, right?
Yeah.
Cool weapons used to be good. Not good anymore,
Right.
And the team does have some teeth. It's won events before, in this edition, but
right. I think the difficulty of trying to win with them, more people are going to lose to the 5-up 7 wounds than if you were to play the 5-up 10 wounds with commandos who just can like, oh, okay, I understand the rules are a little easier to play. Right. So as a complete beginner, you're going to have a better time playing commandos than you will as Deathcore, just because from rules, like you mentioned, and from just buying the models, like you only want to invest so much money in the beginning to see if you like something. And if you do, then maybe you buy it, but maybe not the first thing anymore. Back in the day when it was like the box release and people just had so much of this, and like now I don't even see the Deathcore box like in almost any store.
Yeah. So, the reason why I argue C tier for these guys is because it is a 2-box kill team minimum, and the rules are difficult.
Yeah, right? I can force it down to C as well.
All right.
Yeah. See, it's just a harder one, and I think that's going to be an issue with a lot of the 2-box teams. They're going to innately be lower just because the investment's harder.
And there is a problem as well. There's not any other like rank and file human team other than this team. Like, yes, you have Kasserkin, but they're elite soldiers. Scions, they're elite soldiers, right?
Right.
Scouts, elite soldiers, right? This is like just bringing a bunch of homies, and trying to win,
Which we'll see if in the future they come up with their version of a team that fills this void, which is always possible, right? So right now, if you really do want Deathcore and you like the aesthetic, go for it. But it is not one of the easier teams to begin the game with, and I probably wouldn't tell you to do that if you were going to make a decision.
So let's move on to Pathfinders. Pathfinders were notoriously a really strong team last edition and were rightly feared and hated by many players and people, including yours truly. Right?
They had some very, very strong rules, could do a lot of alpha strikes. However, a lot has changed since that's happened. Although I don't think they're at their height, I still think they have some teeth, albeit not as sharp. And I think this suffers similarly to Deathcore, where Pathfinders also want you to get the second box, and there's also a lot of specialists, which then you get into what should I pick, right? Whenever I'm deciding what should I build next, like I usually just default and choose one drone and call it a day. I don't want to make the rest of them. And I don't even know if it's the most optimal drone, you know? I'm not investing that time, right? Like
a recon drone is definitely a thing that you want to take.
That's usually the one, because of all the rule changes, it became in my eyes, the most common to use. But I'm sure people are like, if you're a real Tau player, you're getting the shield drone here, you're getting the gun drone there, and you know it. And I'm like, nah, that's fine. You can do that. So from a team perspective, again, you do have to buy 2 boxes if you want the full thing. I do think the rules
you're playing with half a Swiss Army knife for sure.
Exactly. Like the rest of the parts are missing. So it sucks. Though I think the rule sets now are maybe just slightly above Deathcore. What do you think?
I think that I think they're holding hands with Deathcore. You know, this team does do a lot of damage. It's really, really, I think it's a pretty good team. You know, a lot of people still aren't there with me, right? But I think the team's really, really good. But they are exceedingly difficult to pilot and to pilot correctly, right? And they require 2 teams. I think that easily puts them into C tier for me.
Yeah, I would give you that. Yeah, a 5-up armor save, 7 wounds, same issue, right? For beginners.
Yeah. Now, one of the interesting things about Pathfinders, though, as well, right, is that they are rather a difficult team to, let me take off the magnet because it wants to. There we go.
There you go.
I think Pathfinders are also very not. They're just not beginner friendly, but I don't think that Kill Team's going to go very long without a Tau team. Like, yes, sure, we have Vespids and we have Kroot, right? So there's Tau teams there, but there's no actual race of Tau,
like a Firecast or something. Yeah, that does all the fighting, and I'm sure we're gonna get it. You know,
yeah, we have to, man.
We have to.
As much as I meme on the Tau, I really enjoy the Tau's aesthetic. I really like the Tau. I like. I'm a little weeb at heart, you know. So
I like that.
It was nice. Yeah. It was nice to see them get a buff. You know, I even made a human Guiseva, you know, with one, and I was like, okay, I've committed enough heresy for the year, so I stopped. I just made one.
You could commit more.
I saw that, and then like 3 days later, they got a buff, and I was like, I don't want to play Pathfinders if they're good. But next up, we have Novitiates.
This team is interesting because the only real thing you got to do is buy a second flamethrower to really optimize it. However, I've had friends who've played this when they first started and they just built the kit. They were able to build the specialists and they were kind of solid.
But the rules are difficult.
That was the next thing. He took him a long time to really learn his rules. And because of that, I think they fall in the B tier where they got some hard rules, but their box is very playable just out the gate. You really don't need to buy that second one. It's not like a requirement. It's a later down the road. But not good enough to really be A tier where it's like, that's easy. That's a good box to buy once and you don't got to worry. Right. That's where I think they fall. I don't know. What do you think?
I 100% think that they're probably in B tier. You know, the fact that you really only need like one extra model, you don't really have to buy them, but the rules are really hard. And the team is a little bit, the team was kind of broken at the beginning of the edition and then they kind of got nerfed. I think they're still good, but Sanctifiers are just them, but better.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There definitely seem like Sanctifiers is replacing them for sure. Again, it is a season 1 team, so we will probably see the same motifs come in. We have been for quite some time seeing certain things come in, be replaced. The Kill Team's been knocking it out of the park on some of the rules, right? So
absolutely,
100% think Novitiates is B tier.
Yeah. B
Next
tier.
up, sorry, G, go ahead.
No worries. Yeah.
Next up, we have Corsairs.
This one I truly believe you can do a one box because you get 10 models in the box or in the sprue, depending on how you get it. And you only got to build 9. So
yes, but it is a 2-boxer because you need different gunners. And I've also heard sometimes warriors are pretty decent.
That was the next thing, right? So I think this is pushing them to B as well, where like you could play it straight out of the box. The rules are, I think, easier to combo off with than Sisters. But instead of just buying one model, you may want to buy a few more, because that was always something like buy a couple Dark Eldar bodies so you can have this different weapon attached to it. And it's a little bit more of a cost investment. So I think it just pushes it to B, which isn't bad. And the rules, although they did take a bit of a nerf, the rules are still very strong, and the models, what they can do is still pretty good.
Yeah, I think that Corsairs are they are forgiving and punishing if for brand new players. For instance, I think that being able to link a dash at any point is really good for beginners because it lets you like move a model, shoot something, and move back in. It can let you overextend though. So you could like move, dash, and then shoot somebody, and then your model dies, and you can start to flail pretty badly during gameplay. Also, like, they are a rather fragile team, right? Now, the other thing is, like, we're expecting this tier list is also made on the expectation that everyone's playing on some kind of balanced maps, right? Because we do see people that play Kill Team on a bunch of maps that are just absolutely crazy, and they're just like, hey, look, there's one tree in the middle of the map. And it's like, oh, okay, well, Pathfinders are going to beat every team on that because
they're going to see it and just light them up.
Yeah. So, like, assuming that we're playing on Volcus, ITD, either GWs or ours or any other various maps, right? I think that the team is probably B tier, but I would put them at the top of B, if not in the bottom of A, just because the team does have forgiveness, but it can be punished really difficult. Like it's the positioning in the team is difficult to get correct, but they have ways to get themselves out of it. If that makes any sense. And
they dish out good damage with power swords and like high blast weapons like the blaster and the bright lance or whatever their version of their lance is.
The D cannon. The
D cannon, essentially, yes. Yeah, so they can take out models and reliably take out models, which is good.
So where do you want to put them, G? Do you want to put them at top of B tier? Okay,
top of B.
It does take 2 boxes.
It does take 2 boxes. You do have to buy a few more models, unfortunately.
Yep. Cool. Top of B tier they go. Next up, we have their counterparts when they were released. Legionary. Last edition were very popular. Very, very popular. AOD has reclaimed their throne, their crown, but Legionary were the most popular kill team in this game for quite some time. But they weren't very good. They got re-released and they were Omega broken.
Smashed through the windows, man. Like they could not lose mostly.
It's Warp Coven.
Just Warp Coven. And now looking at the nerfs in their current state, the team is still a Space Marine. A Chaos Space Marine, if you will. So they got powers, right? They got a bunch of different options, and they're pretty forgiving.
Is it a 1-boxer?
I would argue yes. However, you have the option, and it's encouraged to go 2, which is where I would probably say A tier is where they'd fall, because you can build the best 6 models and still have 4 additional models you want to build. And you can kind of mix and match. I've seen Legionary teams made up of mostly like there's like 3 core characters they take and then 3 of whatever else, and it still does phenomenal. You're going to have a great time.
And they're super simple to learn. They're super simple to run. right? And they're extremely forgiving, and they're really tanky, right? So if you're just wanting to learn how to play Kill Team and you want to go to a game store and just roll over a couple of people, you know, you just be like, oh, I woke up, I roll some dice and I win. You know, Legionary is great.
They got
it's great for that. You know,
yeah. And it's not hard to figure out the rules.
Yeah, there's another team just like them that we will get to later.
Yeah, absolute A tier. You can do it on one box, but if you want to get the second one, totally cool.
Phobos is up next. I think the next box was Phobos versus Blooded. Now, what's interesting is that our podcast started when I think it was Corsairs versus Legionary. That was our very first box.
That was the very first one was Hoffman. That's right.
Yeah. And then our very next big box set release was this one. And it was during, I think we ran it, our very first event we ever ran was this box set came out.
Yeah.
I think the day of, right? The day of, I'm pretty sure. It was like
something like it.
10th, June 7th. And we only had 7 people, Saya and and that's with Saya and Giacomo playing. You know, it was crazy. It was cooked. Now we run 160 something person tournaments, right? So
maybe even bigger this LVO. Who knows?
Maybe. So Phobos, Giacomo, this was your first love, you know?
It was.
I know David's a big fan of this team. In fact, I'm going to check in on him because now we're talking about his team. No, that's not this one. Giacomo. So, whoops. Yeah. So what do you think about Phobos? Where are you thinking about putting them?
I think with a lot of the changes that have happened, they have a solid play style now. However, not everyone can make that correct, because at 12 wounds, you know, you go out, right? Like, you got a gun that's doing is an elite killer. It will do 12 wounds. It will knock you out. You will die. So this is a very much like where legionaries are using a giant machete to hit you. Phobos are using a scalpel and are looking for your weak spot and then getting you right there. So if you aren't finding that weak spot and figuring out on the map where to put yourself, you're going to position it perhaps not as optimal, and then you're going to get punished for it. So I think, although this is technically a one box kill team, because same idea with Space Marines, you get 10 models in the box, but you only have to build so many. This is a bit harder to play. So I think this brings them down a bit.
This is also a 3-box kill team.
Technically, yes. I would say 2, because you have to buy Reavers. Or if you want to just use big knives, you could put them on and call them a Reaver. That probably is fine. But yeah, I get what you mean. Totally get what you mean. Yeah, this is a team that is, you probably do want to buy the Reavers because they're good. In fact, that's one of the things you have to take on this team if you want to be successful.
I think they're more forgiving than Deathcore and Pathfinders. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm almost willing to put them in the C tier, but I think they are still in B tier because they are rather tanky. They do a lot of damage, and they're Space Marines, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that to play them okay as a brand new player, they will do fine pretty much anywhere. They have a really, really high skill ceiling, right? Mm-hmm. But they do have counters, especially if you're brand new and you're playing into somebody who's been around for a while. They might know how to beat this team. Just bring like P2 weapons and a bunch of other things and stay safe. You know, don't get too close because they will murder you.
Yes.
And they're a fun team, right?
Yeah. Combos are cool, right? You can do the Batman thing where you get the grappling hook, the jump pack, and everything. You can do all sorts of fun stuff with them.
Yeah, I missed the last edition where you could give one guy like 10 pieces of equipment. Not 10 pieces, but 10 equipment points worth. And then you just turn him into Batman.
Yeah, he had all the utility.
Yeah.
Oops.
He is just immortal.
I could see them going at top of C or near bottom of B right now. Okay. Both I'm fine with. I would probably push them into B. I think elites are just a little easier because, again, even if you have 10 models, you can just build your 6 and be happy. The time investment isn't nearly as much compared to like 10 models from Deathcore if you just did the box minimum, right? The box minimum.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we have Blooded up next. Blooded. Oh gosh, are they a 2-box kill team? No, I think they are a 2-box because I believe
you can take the the little guys.
Let's double check. I'm not sure how Games Workshop sells, because they do have an Ogren and they have a Commissar guy. So
and
that's
you do get
probably
both
a 2-box.
the box, I believe. Yeah.
Do you?
You should get the Chaos Commissar and the Chaos Ogren in the box. Last I remember, if I recall correctly. Which isn't a terrible thing. However, this team has a lot of operatives, like a lot of the early teams tended to have, which means you might not pick the correct models, which will cause you to, play a little worse in their play style. And they want to be a little more aggressive, even though they're very weak, right? They want to have those blooded tokens. They want people to die themselves, their opponents. They want to get the gaze of the god, and then they want to hit you with crits. They want you to go down. So new players might be a little more cagey because they don't want to lose a model, right? Because generally, if you lose your pieces in a game, that means you're losing, right? But this isn't the case for this team. They want to kind of do that.
It is. They do get the Ogren and the Commissar dude in the same box.
So that's usually why I think, although this team is generally a 1-box, the skill it takes is a little harder. Probably similar to that of like Phobos. Once you kind of learn the pattern of how you sacrifice your bodies, then you start getting really good at like, all right, I know these 3 guys are going to die, and then this guy's going to gaze of the god, and he's going to one-shot this model. And I want to do that every turn so that I can always get my abilities off. I put them in B personally. What do you think?
I think it's also B because they do have gunners, right?
Yeah,
and they're allowed to take. I think they're allowed to take 4. Yeah, and then they have to take 4 blooded operatives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say B tier just because they do have a ton of stuff. I'm not 100% sure if it is just a 1-box skill team. That would probably move them up to A. But the rules are kind of difficult. They are kind of difficult to play, but they aren't super difficult to play.
Mm-hmm.
I've played quite a few blooded people and players, but they are a very not popular team. They haven't been super popular. The only time they got really popular was last edition when they were conceived as good, and yet they were never good enough to win any kind of giant major event. As a beginner, if you like a Chaos Cultish type team, it would be a lot easier just to run Chaos Cult than it is Blooded, right? So I would definitely put them in B tier just because their combos are kind of difficult, and they have that guard problem where you have to have certain models next to certain models activate in certain orders in order to proficiently use them, and it takes time to learn that.
Yeah,
I think the team is difficult to run in that aspect.
Yep, 5 up, 7 wounds, not forgiving,
I would agree.
Ooh.
Warp Coven.
We're on to the
Now,
cool part.
We're up to the White Dwarf teams. Almost at the end of season 1. Now, these guys I think Warp Coven was actually one of the first teams to come out.
Of the
Yeah, and they were kind of good when they first came out, and then all the other teams came out, and they were just awful, and they were never good.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah.
And then something happened.
Yeah, and then the new edition came out, and they were really broken. If you like Thousand Suns, you like Dusty Boys, you like Zangor models. If you don't know what those are, these are fallen Space Marines. These are evil Space Marines that fell with their Primarch named Magnus, and they have a genetic disorder where their bodies turn. Yeah, and then Aramon, which was one of their sorcerers, cast a spell, turn them all to dust, and he's trying to like fix that. He's freaking out inside. He has to be, right. He's not that big of a psychopath.
Could you imagine if your boss turned you into dust and you're like, oh crap, I got to get these guys home. Oh no.
Like, oh no, now he's just in his clothes and he's just walking around and he can't talk anymore. That's sad.
That's not good.
And then he just like goes home and is like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
I don't like that guy anyways.
Dang,
know,
horrible
right?
boss. But yeah, so this team right now has very good abilities. Even with a lot of nerfs, they're still very strong. They're generally forgiving. The one biggest downside is buying all these pieces. I think currently
expensive.
right now, it's going to cost you about $180, $200. Maybe if you get it on discount, if you find the pieces, $150. That's still very expensive.
Yeah. Essentially, you could run this team. You could just buy a box of rubrics. You could have one sorcerer and a bunch of dudes, right? Problem is, Zangor are good a lot in a lot of matchups, right? And then another thing is like you might not just want one sorcerer when the sorcerers are the most powerful models on the team. A lot of times you're going to want 3, which means that you're either going to have to buy 3 more rubric boxes, or you're going to have to go buy an exalted warriors box. So that's like a $70 box, a $65 box, and another $70 box. It's crazy. Crazy.
It gets way too expensive for what it's about to be, and on top of that, it's at the end of its life cycle, according to what GW has said. Right? They're one of the classified teams, right? Or to be declassified
this year, correct?
Yeah. So who knows? Hopefully, it still stays around, but the ability to use them in more places is slimmed down. So if you do this, it's a little bit more expensive.
If you're coming from Warhammer and you already are playing this, like if you already own these models, this is a fantastic team. It's a very fantastic team. This team is also relatively difficult to run efficiently. They are formulaic. You learn how to play the team from a high level player, right? And you do the same thing over and over and over. And you just steamroll people over and over and over. I have horrific flashbacks from playing Deathcore into these guys. And somebody brought 2 of their flamer guys and was like, "Oh, all I need is 3 hits and your guy's auto dead." And I hit on 2s. I'm like, "All right."
Yep. So although the team is strong, it is a little boring to play. If you want to play it optimally, obviously you can just go like, I'm going to just play 1 sorcerer and all these rubrics, but that's
or 10 Zangor,
or 10, exactly, 10 Zangor and this, and that is an option.
Yeah, you can get spicy with it.
Yeah, you could have fun, but like realistically, people are always trying to play a little more optimal, so that's not the case. And this team, I think I got to push it into C. It's just kind of expensive.
I was going to say D. They are a very forgiving team. Maybe that's the only reason why I would put them in C,
because they have really cracked rules and they're very strong and can survive a lot. But they're just like, that price is hard, especially for a new player. And I always recommend people when they're starting a game, don't go down the path of buy all this stuff and then you realize you don't like it and then you put it on eBay for 70% of its value. Get the one that you want to start with and go from there. If you're a 40K player and you already got this, cool, you can start this right away and see if you like Kill Team.
And if you really just like the aesthetic of them, then go for it as well. You know. Next up, we have Void Dancers. Void Dancers, I'm going to drop lower than they probably should. Firstly, they are another 3-box skill team, right? You have a Shadow Seer, which is a single hero model. You have a Death Jester, which is a single hero model. Then you have to buy the troop. And then heaven forbid, you want to actually model them with the correct weaponry, right? You're going to have like 8 models with Harlequin Kisses and 8 models with Power Swords, right? Like, also, this team, much like another notorious team on this, teaches you how to play the game poorly. So when this team first released, they had something called Domino Field, right? And Domino Field was like, you can't shoot me unless you're within 2 inches and there's 1 inch of terrain in between us, period, right? So people could just like run around, do whatever they want and never get shot, right? That has mostly changed, right? But the fact that this team ignores so many other rules, they ignore jumping. They can go into combat and then come out. They can do all these kinds of things, right? If you start the game learning how to play Void Dancers, if you ever switch to another team, you're going to have to learn how to play Kill Team.
Again, or at least this new way. And it could be a little frustrating. I have seen that happen with a few friends. And they're like, why isn't it as easy? Because Void Dancers helped you do a lot of the stuff that was hard to get around. Now you're learning harder teams in a way, which is weird.
Now, Void Dancers are competitively very, very strong.
Phenomenal.
They are very, very good. But the problem is they are very rules dependent and they're very expensive, just like Warp Coven, right? So you have to look at the team and be like, well, if you like clowns, right? If you like the Joker, you like clowns. There's some people out there. I'm a Batman guy myself, you know? So clowns have never vibed with me, but there's a lot of people that love clowns out there. And sometimes this is just your aesthetic. This is just your vibe. And that's fucking cool, you know? Then it jumps to S tier for you. But like looking at them holistically as a beginner, they crush people if you're just looking to win, right? But rules wise and gameplay wise and money wise, they're definitely low in the tier list, but the rules definitely bring them up. Gee, where are you thinking about these?
I think this is going to be a pattern you're going to see for White Dwarf teams. I think they're going to keep falling into C, where the rules are still mostly good. We'll get to the next one and we'll talk about that. The biggest crutch is just like buying all the right parts. Like it's expensive, right? Like,
yeah, I'm going to put them at the bottom of C tier.
I can live with bottom of C. I can live with that.
Yeah, if you're just looking to go beat everyone, all your friends.
And that's until they figure out how to play around them. And then you're like, oh, I'm still only 4 up saves and 8 wounds. Like I still can go down. Yeah.
Yeah. And then next up, we have Hunter-Gatherers. No, Gatherer Clade.
That's right.
Yeah. Gatherer Clade.
That is a play on their name of Hunter Clade because they don't hunt no more. They had a bit of a bad rules change, and then the balance data slate gave them a crumb and said, "Here you go." And then forgot that they existed the rest of this game. Unfortunately, because in theory it could be cool for all the AdMech stands out there. Really wanted their AdMech team. This isn't quite hitting it. There was a time where they were really strong too. There was a time. Yeah, this was.
We can hope that servitors, whenever those rules come out, that they fill that niche. But right now, they have a 24% win rate. Now, while they're not awful, they are not. I don't think they're the worst rules team in the game. But no one wants to play them because everyone does what they. There are so many teams that do what they do, but better. Right? Why put yourself through stuff? I mean, they might be the worst team in the game, but that's, if you really like, Steel Boys, Mechie Boys and stuff like that, it might be worth waiting until the servitors come out. If you don't like how the servitors look, grab the Rangers, pick them up, but just realize that right now they aren't very good. Also, they are the most expensive team to collect, I believe, because they have like 163 options.
Oh yeah, if you want to do a perfect thing,
if you want every single thing to get them, like you're gonna be on life support,
And even let's say you don't want to be the most optimal robot player there's ever been. Let's just say you want to be a Windows 95. You can buy 2 boxes, and that's still expensive. Because
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, G. I think not only can do you have to buy 2 boxes, but then you also have to buy Rust Stalkers, and then you have to get all the ones that aren't just Rust Stalkers. You have to turn them into the other guys, the shooting guys.
That's what the one thing that is kind of nice about part of it is that you can get the Vanguard and the one in the 1 box. They're the interchangeables, but yeah, then you have to buy Rust Stalkers. And you'd have to also own the other ones, which have the little disc heads. I forget, infiltrators. And they don't give you enough to do split boxes where I can buy half of this and half of this. They give you enough to kind of do one or the other. So then you got to either buy double up or buy extra bodies.
Or you have to magnetize or really tiny little joints. And if you're a beginner, I don't even know if you know what magnetizing is. I mean, you probably do.
Yeah. But it's expensive, and I don't think it's worth it for what the team does right now and for the cost you got to pay to get these guys. Now, there was a time they had a start collecting box, which had absolutely everything because you got double up on stuff, and they don't make that anymore. So then all those changes, I just think this is kind of falling down. This one might even hit D right now because the rules are just
it's 100% D.
Yeah, it is not getting anything. There's no love right now, unfortunately.
In my opinion, it is. Just like in our competitive tier list, this is the bottom ranked team.
Man, I feel so sad for all the players too.
Yeah. Maybe somebody will come out and like win like a 80-person event with them, and then we'll all rethink our lives. You know,
I'll swallow my words if that's the case.
Mm-hmm. So we have Wormblade up next. Wormblade suffers just like all the other White Dwarf teams.
Expensive, a lot of options.
A lot of options, a lot of models, a lot of heroes. But there's like
4 or 5 heroes.
Four unique hero models, you know?
Yeah, the amount of
4 individual blisters you have to buy.
Assuming you don't magnetize, which is a pain in the butt, but I have seen it done. It's just really expensive too. It's probably the most expensive, I think, actually, or tied with AdMech. But they have really good rules. They aren't forgiving. Like if you mess up, 7 and 5 up wounds, you're 5 up save, you're down. But they have crazy rules if you can pull it off. Though I don't think too many beginners are going to know that off the top of my head. So I still think this team is going to fall right into like C, just because they do have better rules than AdMech currently. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah. Next up, we have a true 1-box kill team. Hey, look at that. It's been a long time, right? Took us to the annual of 2022 to get there, but Gellerpox is a true 1-box kill team, just like Starstriders. Both of them are. Gellerpox definitely got a glow up. You know, they are a lot stronger than they were. I would probably put them in S tier just because, in my opinion, I think now while I'm not a fan of the way the models look, there are tons and tons of people that are, right? They have a relatively simple play mechanic where you just run at the enemy and you just try and kill them in melee, right? But they also run into that same pit trap that if you don't position your models carefully, shooty teams can kill your models, right? Obviously, you're playing a game. And then you have, I think that they're probably in S tier just because of that. You know, I think that. What do you think, G?
I think they're in S tier as well. From the accessibility, you just buy the box, you're done. With the changes to how the bugs worked in this recent update, it means you can use more models, which is kind of what you needed to save on equipment points. And some of the rules are just a little bit better now. And the Hulks are pretty strong that you could probably take a little bit of a hit if you miss position and be okay amongst your peers. And as you learn the game too, you can get even better with them and know exactly when to bring the wrecking ball and not take as much punishment, right? There is definitely that too. So this is an S tier absolutely for me. If you like Nurgle and you like this aesthetic for them, this is an S tier for sure.
Big tanky guys with a bunch of small guys that help them out. You know, you run at people and you kill them. You know, pretty simple. Starstriders are up next. Another 1-boxer. You know, they have a very limited kill team list. While their rules aren't nearly as good, I'd probably still put them in S tier just because, they are a very simple team to buy. You know, their rules are more complicated. They're a lot more complicated, so it could drop them down to A. In fact, I think that's where they should live, and that's not a bad thing. And realistically, this is, although I don't necessarily love every sculpt on this team, this does lend you to really kind of like, in my opinion, be really hobby wise with them and go like, well, I'm going to make my own rogue trader leader or my own version of this, and it's still cool, you know. So that gives me bonus points. So I think it goes in A tier. I think it sticks in A. Okay.
Now we go on to
Farstalker.
Oh, Farstalkers. Now they're weird. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. Like most people say they're bad, and I'd have to believe them because I don't play this team.
So Farstalker they can run over certain teams. They can just run them over, right? They're a very strong team at shooting and that kind of stuff. But the problem is once you start like killing a couple of their models, just like Veteran Guard, just like some of these other shooty horrors, they just start to crumble really fast. And then other teams are just really difficult for them to spiral through, you know, and fight through. They're not like rules wise, they have a decent set of rules to them, right?
Yeah.
While they might not have a great win percentage and they might not do that, there's a lot of people who enjoy the team. But there are a lot of people that get frustrated with the team because people that play the game don't typically like to lose every game. And if you play Far Stalkers in your area and your area is dominated by certain teams, you probably can lose every game, right? Just because they do have really bad matchups.
Yeah, and they're a little more difficult in that regard. However, I think this is definitely a one box because you really don't need much more that's not in the box. I don't recall anybody saying they needed to buy another model. So,
to be honest, I don't even know what comes in the box.
I think you get the 2 Kroot Hounds, you get the leader, the Kill Broker, I think his name is. You get the Pistolier, you get the Bird Lady, you get the Sniper with the bow, you get the guy who has the big gun, that's the Netcaster. And I'm sure I'm missing some more, but they're like probably other melee operatives. But you should get everything you need and pretty much everything you'll ever need for the team in the one box, which you'll start noticing that's going to be a trend later in the later teams, as I think maybe GW's design team decided that's going to be the direction they move into. We'll see. Maybe that was just for that season.
Yeah. So it says that the box itself comes with 10 operatives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably with the 2 dogs. And if we look at the operative selection, okay, well, that can't be right. Okay, so you have 11 Farstalker Kinban along with the leader, which is probably including both of the hounds, right?
Right.
You're allowed to take.
Which would make sense.
So it is going to be a 2 kill team box just because there is heavy gunners on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So it's definitely a 2 boxer. If you want every option, you can run the team efficiently just one, but you definitely want the Skinner blade and then the giant bow, the tri-blast blow for certain other teams
which I think you'll mostly make, because I've only ever really seen the Skinner ever used against me. I've never not seen the Skinner taken. It's just so good compared to compared to other things. So that's why generally, although you're right, you could buy the second box to get the other options. There's some like, if you could get this thing that's not broken versus the broken one, you have both options. You take the not broken one, or I guess in this sense, you take the broken one, which would be the it's not broken, but it's very strong. So I think there's still decently enough where you could survive on one, but you're right. You could have all the options. The rule sets make them a little harder, so I think they're falling into B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. And that's specifically because the rules are difficult, right? Like It's not, I wouldn't say like they're as difficult as novitiates, right? But novitiates might win more than Kroot, depending, just because like Kroot demand a very specific play style, right? And if you aren't used to the game and you don't know how to get to that play style or play them in that very specific way, you're going to struggle a little bit,
Unfortunately, but yeah, B is a good space for them. They're surviving in B.
I think Corsairs are probably still
They're
a
still
better
better
choice.
if you're going to pick one.
Yeah.
We moved to their counterpart now, which was when they came out at the time. Yeah, they were hot breachers.
It's the very first Into the Dark box ever made.
Yeah, that's right. Kroot versus them. People were losing their minds for both teams. Kroot had not seen a big update in years, and Breachers are brand spanking new. Unfortunately, in the current era right now, Breachers aren't that great and are better taken with Inquisition, which, if you've watched anything on our channel before, I have a problem with. I think Inquisition is not a healthy team the way they play it, because it just invalidates a lot of stuff. But anyways, Breachers themselves on paper seem like they'd have a lot of things going for them, but in practice you kind of find that they're a little paper thin.
They're good when you fight in your own territory now, right? They have decent combat that way. They are a 2-box skill team.
Yeah.
If you want to get all the operatives, right? You want to use them all, change up some things, right? Not just take one standard list.
Yeah.
I'm thinking probably B tier, just because they're not super strong. They do demand a certain play style.
Yeah, and I think Void Armor's still good. So,
but they're still decent. Like if you really like the rogue trader guys, these kind of the spacefaring humans in space, and you don't want to go to like the necessary, like just like warriors, you know, from the Astra Militarum, then this is still a really cool kill team. I think they came out artistically very well. You know, I think they're a pretty cool team.
Yeah, I think you're right. For aesthetics and everything, I still would put them in B. Not the easiest team, not the hardest. Maybe not always the hardest hitting rules, but you'll have fun.
Yeah, and these were probably the worst teams on release. This team was, I would say.
For the current edition, yeah, it's bad.
For the current edition. When they came out originally, though, they were pretty strong. They were
yeah,
pretty good.
Man, people doing breach and clear. That was like, that's the thing you had to watch out for.
Now, Hyrotech.
Oh, man.
I'm going to put these guys D tier. Well, it's hard. I'm going to put them D tier, and I'm going to tell you.
I totally agree. Go on. Tell me why.
So let's see what comes in the Hyrotech Circle box. I want to see what heroes do, because I don't want to like make myself look like a ding dong on the internet.
You get the Technomancer, you get the Apprentech, you get the option to build a Death Mark, a Immortal, you get the 2 bugs. And is there anything else?
I think, okay. So I think that this team is not a good choice. And I'll tell you why. There are 2 other heroes that you have to buy, one of which I have been building models for 25 years. There are certain Necron models that I will never, ever, ever, ever put together again. Right? I think one of them is the Psychomancer. The other one are Flayed Ones. And Flayed Ones aren't even in this box set, you know? I got Flayed Ones in Pariah Nexus, and I never opened another Pariah Nexus because I didn't want to put any more of those together.
Totally get it.
So firstly, modeling-wise, this team is a pain in the rear, right? The Necron fiddly bits are really flippin' fiddly.
I would say for the Psychomancer, absolutely agree.
A Technomancer, he was fine.
He was fine.
The other one was also okay, but the other one's hard to get. Like the actual model itself came in like a limited edition set where he only comes in with one thing and he has like this cube. You know, he's expensive.
Oh yeah, that one is expensive too. So just even buying it secondhand or firsthand, it's kind of pricey. Yeah. So
it's like they have 3 different cryptotechs. You have the Apprentech, which only comes in the box, to my knowledge.
That's correct.
And then you just have like a bunch of like just normal dudes, which are fine to put together, to be honest. But
yeah, those guys are fine.
The rules are difficult. And the fact that when they die, they come back to life is already that's the cool thing about the rule. They die and they come back to life. Really cool. But I played at Dallas last year, and there was a guy who's telling us that he just doesn't lose with these guys. And he puts everyone on engage, and he just ran at the enemy. And I think he went 3-1. He never went on conceal. You start on conceal, obviously, and then you just ran at him. But like the fact that he could just do that, you know, is just showing that the team is kind of broken, or was kind of broken. And it's not teaching like the good game fundamentals, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue that that's a very specific case for the player in question, just because they definitely knew how to play it. I don't think beginners are going to run into this issue, but they go on all engaged. They're gonna play it kind of safe, like I should hide. That's very rare circumstances. So I think but another thing that you have to remember is when you die, you have to remember to bring them back to life, how they come back to life, and that's just like another thing you're taxing yourself on. So.
The mental load of this team is very high. They have
that's
auras and stuff. They have models who can shoot through different models, you know?
Like our friend Kristen, she was learning how to play this team. She mained them for the longest time. Almost the first like 3 months of just her learning it was like grind. Like, oh, they do this. I forgot they do this. Oh, I can't believe I don't remember to do this. I said I was going to remember. And then eventually she's like, now I get it. But it took her some time, right? Like, and that's because we were playing like twice a week. So we were like, she's constantly learning it. And that I could see as like, all right, maybe you don't have all the time in the world, so you can't always play. But if you do like Necrons, this is currently your option, you know? So like
the only option.
It's the only option. So you do or don't. So
Necrons have to come out this year.
They
right?
have to, something. Maybe we'll get to see the revival of Pariahs. Who knows?
Yeah. Or Pariahs.
Yeah, Pariahs, right? I think they haven't been re-released in a million years.
They have not.
Yeah.
So I think that these are in front of Hunter Glade because they are this team is still pretty good.
Playable,
Yeah.
And it is a cool team. I like the idea of a Heretic Circle where
if you want to win, it's also another team that you can win with. But when you go there, you might take 3 hours instead of 2. As a beginner.
It's a lot to learn.
It is. Casterkin G. You painted these guys. This is your model right here.
Yeah, that is my model. I love
the
Casterkin.
colorblind. I'm sorry.
For the colorblind, you can't see the patterns or the color deficient. This team, you can buy a second. Really, it's like the Novitiate thing. You can buy one more model if you really wanted. This was the first team I can recall that they were like, oh, we don't have additional operatives. You have to take a warrior. Like you are required to take a warrior. Okay. So you do that. And the only real operative I ever had to build 2 operatives was a melt-a-gun and a flamethrower that I've never finished. So you could in theory do it with 1 box, but there is the option for 2. The rules are okay. They got a lot better, but they're not like amazingly better. And there's more survivability than before. There's that,
I personally think the team is probably A tier. It does require 2 boxes, right? But the team is relatively simple.
It is very straightforward. This is a very honest team. They don't really have a gotcha. They straight up let you know, all right, this turn I'm reducing damage. This turn I'm moving faster. They tell you right at the top of the game. This
turn I got severe. I'm going crazy.
The only real gotcha is like, okay, I'm going to reroll all my dice against you if you fit this criteria. If you don't fit that criteria, I can't shoot all my dice against you. That's about the most gotcha they have. They're a pretty honest team. And honesty
do have one gotcha.
Tournaments.
They're just like, hey, I'm going to fight your model and do 1 extra damage. Oh, you didn't think I could do that much damage, could you?
Yeah, which you do have to tell them in the beginning, I'm going to do for Cadia to do 1 more damage at the beginning of the turn. So your opponent might get to know, like, okay, maybe I don't fight them this turn, But I think you're right. From the simplicity of the box, you can buy the 10-man box. You probably never have to worry about doing the other things because the sniper's not that good anymore. So just build the Melta, the heavy last gun, which is you can walk with, and take the grenade launcher. Honestly, you're going to be fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would put them in A. Yeah, they're a very simple team to just like that's the one you need, and they're straightforward.
Hell yeah! So next up we have Hand of the Archon.
Ooh, Hoda. This one I'm not as familiar with. However, I do remember they kind of have a lot of the same build practices and not gameplay, but like I think difficulties kind of fall similar to Corsairs.
Difficulties definitely fall very similar to Corsairs. In the last edition, they were pretty much just the better version of Corsairs. Mm-hmm. Now, I think they've definitely got a little bit of a nerf, but it's not terrible, right? And the team is definitely playable.
Yes.
Evil elves. If you like elves, right? If you like a good shooting team and melee team, this is probably a great team to consider. Mm-hmm. They like to stab and they like to do a lot of damage, Personally, I think they're probably going to be at the top of B tier just because the rules are pretty decent. They're a 2-boxer.
And they got a little more life in them since they're going to be classified for another year, I think.
Are they a 2-boxer? I think they just require 1 more out of the 10 models they get. I think.
They have the same thing of like you can take the different versions of the guns that Corsair do. Mm-hmm. So that's literally the only reason they're 2-box is because their options actually kind of matter. Whereas Casterkin, you're probably not building the flamethrower and you don't need the sniper realistically. Where these options are all good and you may want them. So therefore it is encouraged to buy a second box or get a few extra models.
I think it's safe to put them at the top of B with their little brothers. They're good they're good brothers.
They're gray brothers. Yes,
gray brothers.
Yes, not black or white. They're gray brothers. They can be either. What was the prince's name? Prince what? The guy who's on yellow, right?
I
forget his name in in Warhammer.
Who?
The guy who runs the Corsairs. He's like Prince
Ariel?
whatever. Is it him?
Prince Ariel? Yeah, Prince Ariel.
Yeah, right.
Don't question me about my elf knowledge, man.
That's why I was asking you, because you know it.
I got you. I know things. I know things about elven lore, you know?
He's the elven man.
I've been around since the year 2000, dude. I got that stuff locked in my brain. Even stuff that they've retconned is up in there, you know? Next up, we got Exaction Squad. Why do I own 30 of these models? Because I think they're flipping awesome.
They are pretty cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, I played against them recently, and I didn't know what was happening. They were so complicated, and they're not very good. But they do. If you roll good and your opponent rolls bad, they just cook you, right? And they look really cool. I mean, I'm a big fan of these.
I like them. I think they're a pretty rad team. And on paper, they should be cool.
Right? I believe Doru on our Discord said that we should rename our podcast to Exaction Squad Games.
If they win Worlds, I'll do it. It's almost a guarantee not going to happen.
Don't tempt Games Workshop. They'll make it happen, G. That's
fine. If that means that now, not only on paper but in the game, they're actually pretty strong, I can take it. Like
all shotguns do 5/5 damage.
Yeah, when I look at this team, I think of like, okay, so they're like an early game boss where like you got to kind of learn a few skills against them. Otherwise, you do get blown up by the rule set a little bit. But if you know enough, you're like, well, I can tank that. I'm level 47. You know, compared to this one boss, I beat them. They're a common enemy now. So cool team, cool rules, a little hard to always comprehend and remember when to use what. And not a one box, because you do want the shield options. You definitely do.
The shield options are ridiculous.
Yeah. It's encouraged to buy more boxes. So unfortunately, I think this is going to keep pegging them down. I think they're falling into C for me.
You think they're falling into C? I was going to put them in B.
See, I thought about B, but it's just like when you play up against a lot of
they're difficult. Their rules are difficult. I will give you that.
Yeah, some of their more popular matchups.
It's a long mental load of being like, oh, I got to give this buff, and this buff in order to maybe hurt the Space Marine. You know,
right?
I could see that.
So that's kind of why it's like I don't know if I'd want to start with that right away. Like, yeah. So I kind of just stick them into there.
Fair.
Yeah, not a bad thing if you like the Arbites. If you were reading Eisenhorn and you're like, oh yeah, man, Fish Egg is awesome, and then you wanted to play them, you know.
Did you just call him Fish Egg?
Fish Egg, but it kind of sounds like Fish Egg.
It does.
Yes.
All right, Brood Bros up next. Definitely a 2-boxer for this guy. They do have some really big models, but let's just double check.
Double check. If somehow you're able to find their release, which was, I don't remember what it was called, but the one with them and the Jaegers. Mm-hmm. This is an excellent team to own if you can get that half of the box. Great price. If not so good.
Brood Bros definitely do not come with them. So they are 110% at minimum a 2-box, maybe a 3-box skill team.
Because you need their heroes. You absolutely, or their leaders, not their heroes. Heroes was for Wormblade. You need their spiritual leaders for this team.
The mental guidance.
And it's just they're more expensive, and for some reason it's so hard to find that box. Like I have buddies who play this and they go, I cannot find it. I'm just building my own.
They probably didn't make enough.
Yeah, because I think they're just good, and people like them in 40K too.
Team, very good, but
very good.
Very difficult team to pilot. You're right. You'll notice as a beginner, that these shooty hordes are way more difficult to pilot correctly than it is like a really just tanky boy team. You know,
right? You can be forgiven for taking a shot and then shooting back later.
Absolutely. I'm going to probably put them in C tier. You know, probably top of C for me.
Yeah, I think top of C or just anywhere in C for me is fine. They have difficult rules, but if you do manage to learn them in time, they are a team that the investment is totally worth it.
Yeah.
The Magus is strong, everybody. The Magus is strong.
We have Jaegers up next. They are dwarves with combat plasma knives.
And shotguns.
And they do cool stuff, you know?
Yeah, this one's an interesting one. They got a buff, which helped them out a lot, in a nice thing. We definitely skipped ahead, but that's okay. Anyways, yeah, because Jaegers and Brood Brothers came later after the next box, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Anyways,
that's my fault.
That's all right. We're already doing it. Who cares? You could argue Jaegers is a 1-box. Yes, you can have the shotgun options, but right now the options to play are pistols and blades. That is the thing to take.
So are they an S tier or A tier? The team isn't particularly like amazing, and they can fall apart against elite teams. So if you want to pick them up, realize that some elite teams are just going to just body you because that's how it's supposed to be, right?
I think they're A for those reasons. Like, yeah, they're not as forgiving. However,
they're not legionaries. We don't even have legionaries in S tier, right?
That's what I'm saying. I think these guys are falling in A, where you could buy the second box. You don't need it. Same kind of thing as Casterkin. Their rules are good enough now where they're decent, and you don't have as many operatives. There's only like 6, and then you have 4 warriors. So it's very simple to learn your 6 operatives and be like, I'm rolling now, you know? Team's quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and their gunner is just one gunner. He just has a big missile.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is a decent team for what it is. And if you can split that box with a friend who wants the Brood Brothers, and you somehow can still find the box, I want to say it's still available in some stores. The people who had overstock of it, split that box with a buddy. They're going to get the best deal, and you're going to get a very good team too. I want to say the terrain was negligible, so don't worry about that.
And next up, we have Felgor. Now, Felgor is a hotly contested subject in my mind. Firstly, they're one of the easiest teams to play because when your models die, they still get to activate again. There are certain caveats, you know, they might not die and then you can just run at your enemies again, right?
Right.
But since your models die and then don't die, it can teach you really, really bad can teach you really, really bad mechanics and how to play the game because you just ignore an aspect of the game. And that's like models dying immediately when they're removed, right? But they are the quintessential 1-box kill team as well, right? So I don't think that I can drop them, even if this specific team teaches you bad play styles and manners. I don't know if I can drop them below A tier.
I can't drop them below S. Now I know you just said that they have bad mannerisms to learn, but hear me out. The first time you play and you discover how fast it is for them to go frenzied, you're going to start being like, how do I get them to get into melee range without getting into that first? So you're going to start learning how to start hiding right away. In match 2, you're already going to be like, I can't just run out in the open anymore. You know, because an inexperienced player isn't going to use frenzy to its best abilities. So they're going to start learning how to like start diving and be like, I'm in cover. All right, this is how heavy cover works for me. And because they're just 1 box, and because they still hit like a truck, and anyone who you're learning, like you get smashed by what's his name, the dude with the 3 arms. The mangler guy, like you just get messed up. Like it's over.
They have a poison grenade. They got a lot of really good rules. The team is functionally very good as well, right?
Yeah.
It only costs 1. All right, I'll relent.
It's hard. It's hard to not.
Don't agree. Our patrons want them to go lower, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm buying this box for the first time, I have everything I need. Then it's just a matter of me learning the game, and even then, it's still okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to knock them. Now their counterparts, on the other hand,
Salvagers. Wow.
Oh boy, do I want to put them in B tier? But I think C is where they're going to hang out. Yeah.
That's the wrong way.
I
don't know. I don't know which way YouTube is going to make this thing.
Some direction. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's supposed to be the other way. Yeah.
Yeah, so
E tier.
A, B, D. And I'm not going to go to D.
No.
Yeah. I would say D tier, C tier.
Yeah.
Just because this team is another shooty team, right? They do have a 3-up save, which is much better than their formers, but there's a problem with the team. The problem with the team is that they have a 5-inch move, just like the Jaegers. Now, we did put Jaegers in A tier, but they have a 5-inch move. Elves have a 7-inch move. This team is a lot harder to move around the board than any other team. They are tankier. They do a lot of damage at range, and they have decent melee. But a great tack op to take against them is contained because it's so hard for them just to get into your territory.
They're never leaving their house.
Yeah.
And they got a nerf with the jetpack. It was a little slower now.
There are some people I've talked to who think that their win rate's going to go up because it's going to force people to play them correctly, or the people who were playing them aren't going to continue playing them, because of the what's it called? I disagree with that. So for the new players, the jetpack guy used to go 8 inches, so you could run up 8 inches, throw a grenade on turning point 1, and then steal the initiative and go do it again on turning point 2. Or do it on turning point 3 and then 2 and then 3, or 3 then 4, and just keep them as a threat. Now that's a lot less reliable. So while the team it doesn't suffer at a high level end because of that. I think it's going to suffer for other reasons, but that's besides the point. That's nitpicky rule stuff.
Yeah. And from a box perspective, they have so many different guns. There's maybe one I don't think I'd ever build, but then almost every other heavy weapon is worth taking. And there's a lot of operatives, a lot of operatives.
A lot of things to paint too.
A lot of things. So this team starts getting a little more you kind of definitely want the second box.
Mm-hmm. My Deathcore team I have 18 models painted for it, even though it says 10 only.
Yeah. See, it's kind of falls into that realm where you're going to want to at least have 12 or 13 of these models, even though it's a 10-man team. And it's just that's a little extra.
Where do we put them in C tier, G? Where are you thinking about sliding them in here?
I think they're falling somewhere in the middle. They could be lower than Deathcore. They could be slightly higher than Deathcore, somewhere in that ballpark. Again, 5 inches does slow you down because as a new player, you're going to realize you're not getting objectives as easy. So you're going to have to play around that. And maybe you don't necessarily want to do that right away. But if you like elves, and I love salvagers, I love their aesthetic. I wouldn't play them in 40K, but I would absolutely collect them. And I do have some in Kill Team,
Mm-hmm. Then you have Inquisition. Gee, I know where you're going to put these guys. Why don't you start us off?
F. We don't have an F tier, but if there was, they would go there. For my own hatred reasons, and I've mentioned it already, they make other teams feel worse. Why would you play that kind of thing? And I don't love that that's a real thing. I don't love that that's a real thing. But if you want to play them optimally, you're buying how many boxes?
Well, you have their box, and I'm not sure if their box even comes with all the special stuff. So you can have sisters in your team, you can have scions in your team, you can have Kasserkin, you can have Deathcore. So that's already at least 3 boxes, maybe 5. Period. Yeah. The teams that you have to buy. So this is another one of the most expensive teams to collect out there. Typically, you're not going to play the sisters right now or the scions. Typically, you can also play breachers with them, which is now 6 teams. Typically, I think Kasserkin are the way that you play with the team still. So technically, you might only need 2 boxes.
Yeah.
But the fact that you need 2 boxes to play a team
out the gate, right? It's not even it
is a problem.
Yeah, because you want them. Otherwise, it's not really worth.
They also have a really feels bad mechanics for your friends. So if you're brand new, they have this ability called Nope, right?
Which is absolute authority.
Absolute authority. Essentially, one of your friends is like, I'm going to play this ploy. And you say, nope, I have absolute authority because I'm an inquisitor. And they don't get to do it anymore. It's a feels bad. The team is probably the best shooty team still currently.
Yeah.
But we're going to place it in D tier specifically because, you know,
there's a lot to learn for this team, and that's a lot to begin with. Like, imagine just giving someone not just the player's handbook in D&D, but you got to read the Dungeon Master's manual, you got to read this, you got to read the Monster manual, and you require that. Like, you're going to be like, I don't think this is for me, and you're going to walk away. You know,
it's quite possible. Yeah,
yeah. Like, if you give me the player's handbook, I can read that, and now I only have to read pages this to this.
This is a great team to expand into. So you start with Deathcore, you start with Kasserkin, right? And you're like, okay, well, let's try Inquisition now. I can keep my same painted models. I just got to paint 5 more guys. Cool, bada bing, bada boom. We're cooking. I'm trying a whole brand new team, right?
Yeah.
It's a great expansion team, but I would not suggest this team ever to a brand new player.
Yeah, I would. I'm in the same boat. I would not recommend
Unless
this.
they're just like, dude, I just want to play Eisenhorn. I was like, well, they don't have him in the game
even
yet.
worse than you don't want to play this team.
Yeah, you have to play the like right-hand henchman who carries around a book. All right. I'm not gonna get too salty about it. All right. So I put Inquisition in D tier for our beginners list. Chaos Cults.
Wow, what a team. Also one box. Is
it a 1 box now? Or I thought it was 2. It's a really expensive box. If it's
because the way you buy them is they don't sell them in. No, I think they sell like a giant kill team box of them, and if not, now they sell them in 2 boxes on Chaos Renegades. I want to say it's Chaos Renegades box. You get the big old like leader characters, then you get the mutants. I want to say that's how they sell them now.
Okay, so it's a 3 boxer.
It might be a 2 boxer, but either way, that's probably the only really thing holding them back is just the price. If you can't find the 1 boxer they made or splitting Ashes of Faith, the box with Inquisition versus
I don't even know if it's out there. I think Ashes of Faith is $397 right now.
Yeah, exactly. Finding it in stores and getting it at a good price is kind of hard. Which monetary wise, I think they're pricing it correctly, even though you don't necessarily want the Scions and the Sisters because of the amount of plastic you're getting that GW would charge. So, if you can find that old box that they released it in and get a good price, sure. Otherwise, it's kind of expensive. But now, rules wise, strong team.
Really easy to run. You just transform people, run at the enemies, and just murder them in melee.
Super straightforward. Simple. Kind of like Felgor, super straightforward. But holding them back is that price. I think they're falling into B for me. Maybe even C.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the price could definitely drop them to C, but I think their rules are way better and way easier to understand than Brood Brothers or Warp Coven or, dude, like...
Yeah, you're right.
Transforming is easy. From Brood Brothers just gives me a headache. Oh, this guy can see this guy because this guy can see this guy.
So therefore, I get to shoot this way.
Disguised as another dude. I'm like, dude, stop it. You know?
Yeah.
Chaos Cults has nothing like that. You know, they're just like, hey, this guy can turn into a guy. And then later on the next turning point, he can turn into a big guy, you know? And you're
that's
like, that
very
big
simple.
Guy, he beats people up real good.
It's got that Timmy energy. Yeah. Very simple. Yeah, I think B tier is the way for them to go. In fact, even top of B. You
think so? Top of B?
They're very good. They're very good.
They are a very good kill team currently. Yeah. And they're not broken. When they first came out, they were a literal menace. They just would win golden tickets left and right competitively. If no one even liked playing against them, if you brought them to a tournament or anything, people would just look at you and be like, really, dude? They don't have that problem anymore. They don't have that stigma. You know, Sanctifiers has it.
Yeah. We'll get to them in a moment.
We will. Blades of Cain.
This one's for you.
Very expensive.
Yes.
In fact, I might want to put them in D tier. They have a very hard rules to learn. In fact, the best way to learn the team as a beginner is to be like, hey, I'm going to play like 5 games of just striking scorpions.
Yeah.
I'm going to while I'm building and painting all the Howling Banshees. Okay, now I'm going to play a bunch of Howling Banshees games. Then I'm going to build all the Dire Avengers and play the Dire Avengers game.
Uh-huh.
This box is not just striking scorpions. You know, it's like to be a good Blades of Cain player, you need like between 2 and 4 Dire Avengers, like 2 and 9 Howling Banshees and like 2 and 8 and 2 and 8 Striking Scorpions. It's a very expensive team. So at least how much is a Howling Banshees box?
I think it's $70.
Is that for 5?
Yeah, Kill Team boxes like are around even 40K boxes can get anywhere from 65 to 70. Yeah, like they get expensive, man. Maybe because they're smaller plastic, it might be a little cheaper.
I think Striking Scorpions are like $80. Are they not?
Oh yeah, that's the issue with Scouts too. Scouts are $80 just because you can't get Scouts anywhere else. Yeah,
and you get 10 of them. Right?
Yeah, and you only need 9 of them. So this
according to like Walmart has 5 Howling Banshees for $53.
Oh yeah, they come in a 5. They don't even come in a 10. That's right.
It's the same thing with Dire Avengers.
Yeah,
and I think Striking Scorpions come in 10.
They do.
That's like an $85 box plus $100 in Howling Banshees plus like $100 in Dire Avengers. I remember the good old days when I could buy 10 Dire Avengers
in a box
for $35. For $30, mm-hmm. You know,
and
like,
they had
little metal heads. We were cooking. You know, it was cool. It was great. Times have changed.
They even had the plastic for 10 at one point, but that's gone now. And then
now they dropped it to 5.
There was a Banshee set that came with, you got 10 and then what's her name? The special character, right? I think that was one of the boxes they released. It's not a thing anymore. Or if you can find it, good luck. You know, if you can get a good price. So, but
as a beginner, I will say that this is one of the most fun kill teams you could play. Because this team can do anything that you want. If you play all Howling Banshees, it's like, oh, I'm gonna fly over here, and then I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna fall back. I'm gonna shoot him, you know, and then I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. If you play Striking Scorpions, I'm gonna run up, kill this guy, get a free dash into cover, flip my engage order to conceal and hide. Right. I'm gonna go run over here. I'm gonna go do this. The Dire Avengers are like, oh, I'm gonna run up the board and I'm gonna shoot my one gun as a torrent weapon. Now it's a flamer. Holy balls.
Right.
They can do literally anything. The problem is knowing when to take each individual model, knowing when to play those models, how to play those models, when to activate those models, and then having to build and paint all of them.
Yeah, it's a lot more. It's definitely a lot more to take with you because on average, what this team needs 27 models.
Dude, it's like a $285 team. This is going in D tier, no matter what.
No matter what. Just the price alone is so prohibitive that it's like, if you want to play the full team, obviously you could argue that you just play Blades of Cain, cool, because that's really the only one box kill team of the version, a version of them you can get, because you're not buying 10 Dire Avengers, right? So,
nope.
So
not unless you can find them on eBay,
right? So realistically, you could argue that, but even then, I still think that's not necessarily a great argue because you're going to want the other stuff. So this is going to fall into D for me as well.
Yeah, you could go out and buy 2 box of Guardians at 10 models each. Give a bunch of Guardians power swords and a bunch of Guardians chain swords, and then be like, okay, and then a bunch of Guardians
with guns, the rifles, and call it a day.
But the problem is that since now you're proxying models, you have to get approved by tournament organizers, or if you're just playing at your local store, who cares, right?
Right.
But Blades of Cain is a ton of fun, and I think that they deserve to be higher, but just because of how expensive the team is to collect all together, we do have to put them in
a bit more prohibitive, with a small caveat that they could be in C if you just want to play Blades.
And also, how could I give a team that doesn't
Scorpions.
even fit the lore correctly? You know, Striking Scorpions are supposed to have a 3-up save. They've always have. Games Workshop decided not this edition. Okay, moving on to Scouts. Scouts, another expensive team. G, why don't you take care of these guys?
Now, I'm only going to say they're expensive because currently, similar to Striking Scorpions, there is no other way to get them. And in 40K, they're decent. So people want them. So that is one of the reasons why they get a little expensive. And it's unfortunate. However, this is an absolute one-team box. It is 9 models. You get an extra body. You have the option to build shotgun and knives, but I think shotguns are the way to play them for your extra warriors. You get to take every heavy weapon option.
It can be if you decide to build every model the way that they're supposed to be built, right?
Correct.
Or the second leader with a different weapon.
With a different weapon. So if you do want to build every loadout, yeah, you'd go second, but you can definitely get by with literally just the one box and be satisfied every time. So for me, this is going to hit A just because as of right now, they're expensive to get. The team is relatively fun and for the most part straightforward after the first turning point, because there's all that like they play in turn 0 where a lot of their stuff is putting stuff on the board and predicting where they're going to go. And it's going to take a little bit to learn, but once you get it, like, you got it, and the team is strong. They hit on 3s. They have 10 wounds. They're still Space Marines mostly. Yeah. Good team.
Yeah. I think they're a very strong team.
Yeah. A tier for sure. For beginners, absolute great start team.
We got Nemclaw up next. Giacomo, you've also painted this Nemclaw.
Yeah.
If you guys are watching the video, you can see him. Very well done, G.
Thank you.
Giacomo, where is this a one-box kill team? What is this?
This is the quintessential one-box kill team outside of the option if you wanted to build the Power Fist bolt pistol leader, which you never need to. People will argue with me that you can, and they're probably right. They're better players than me. But this is the one box. You can literally get every special weapon, every heavy weapon, every operative outside of another option leader. You got it all in one box. This is the one box kill team. This is the only place you can get the Night Lord upgrade set in it as well. So it will cost you a little more. However, because there's not really a whole lot more you have to learn, you could still play them just go forward and hit stuff with their weapons. I put them in an absolute S tier if you can find this box, because they're so popular. It's also hard to find.
Agreed. And they're a Space Marine team. They're a very forgiving team. And if you really just want to run at people and murder them in close combat, if you're like me and you play Call of Duty by just running around and stabbing people on the map rather than actually shooting people, or if you play Halo and you just run around the map with a sword and sticky grenades, this is the team for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just run around, you run close to buildings. People are like, oh, I can't see you very well because you're next to a building. Your camouflage is blending in because it's too dark. You're in the shadows. And then they run at you and they just murder you with their giant Space Marine swords. They're awesome. They're great.
Yes, this is essentially how the team runs. Hide into cover, run at them and kill them, and you will kill them. Yeah, absolute S tier, very forgiving. And it has a pretty high ceiling. You can get very good with this team and do some damage in a tournament if you want to get there.
Mandrakes are also a one box kill team. For any, I don't think there's ever a reason to bring a bunch of warriors, right?
Not really. I would never see the reason.
Yeah, their teams are very interesting and very cool, right? They can teleport across the map. They're a very interesting kill team. They might be one of the weakest kill teams, elven kill teams, competitively. But I honestly don't know if I believe that. That is a narrative that kind of goes around. But they are very strong. They got power weapons. Their shooting is like they shoot with this demon fire magic, and then like you have to roll a 1 and a 2 to save instead of your normal saves. Because I'm shooting your soul. Take that. Both Nemesis Claw and Mandrakes came in the same box. It was called Nightmare for obvious reasons. But I would also put both of these teams in S tier.
I totally agree.
Easy to collect, easy to paint. If you can find the box for a good price, you could just buy one box and you'd be set 2 full teams, very fun, right? Teams, and very aesthetically interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. And on a note, Mandrakes, you can get really creative with their color scheme. So I always see such bright colors and things on these guys for being a nightmare kill team. Yeah, great team. Excellent.
Saya really likes the bright colors for them because a lot of people paint them like dark, evil shadow elves, which is typically how they're portrayed.
Right.
But they're still elves, right? So like you could still go really colorful with them and all that kind of stuff. Very cool.
Yes. And this paint job was done by Mr. Alex Popov. We're giving him the shout out. Whoa.
Yep. Next up, we start off with this edition. All of the rest of these teams outside of Angels of Death, which we will touch on, came out in this edition. But Angels of Death's got a little bit of a rebreather. Is that what we're calling it?
We're going to say a I guess I don't want to say a rebrand, but
a new breath on life.
There you go. The new lease on life.
Like
yeah.
New lease on life. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
They're around.
Yeah. Aquilons, Giacomo, you painted these guys. In fact, this photo was featured in a Warhammer community. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Aquilons?
Aquilons are elite teams. So they're also, much like their Casterkin cousins, they also play very straightforward. They're very honest. The most dishonesty they have is like, I could go this way or I could go that way with their little blip tokens. But once you turn 2, you know where they're going to land. So it's not too dishonest. And now that the team got the extra model, which means they get all 11 models in the box that you get, you no longer have to, which means I have to build the last model. And you can build all of them. You can build every one. You might have to do a little fiddly work with like one of the guns, and that's not even that hard. I did it on the first try. Anyone can do it on the first try.
You do have to do a little modeling, right?
A slight, like I put a little bit of green stuff, and I realized once I did it, like I probably didn't even need to do that. I could have just, you don't even notice where the gap is missing because it's hiding behind the armor right here. Like you never see it. So this is completely a 1-box kill team. You make every option. Never worry about it. The only annoying thing is you don't get 2 of the last pistols. So the guy you see in the picture right now, the gunner model and the leader both share the same gun hand. So you have to pick one. So I gave this guy a little bolt pistol, even though they don't actually have that on the profile. Yeah, that's the only annoying thing. Know. Yeah, no one's going to know. No one's going to care. In fact, I've seen this configuration done by multiple people now because it's just like, yeah, why wouldn't you make this the option? Yeah, this one is an S tier for sure. Like, absolute. You get it in the box, you're going to be satisfied. It's a decent team now. Mm-hmm. Next part. The next one.
Vespids. Vespids are also a 1-box kill team. You know, pretty good. They definitely got a buff. They also just received +1 operative. So now you get to use all of their models. It's funny, Aquilons and Vespids came in the same box and they're both getting the same buffs, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of.
And yeah.
But, you know, they definitely have some drawbacks. They have something called communion points, which makes them a little bit more difficult to play. They have fly, so they get to ignore half of the game, right? Which means whenever they move, you can choose to either move them normally, or you could remove them from the table and reset them up anywhere within X amount of inches of where they started flying from.
Yes.
I'm hesitant to put them in S tier because I think that Vespids are good, but I think that the communion points are a difficult mechanic to master for brand new players. Mm-hmm. They will run into stumbling blocks along the way of learning how to play this team. But I think the team can literally just annihilate people. Like if an enemy's not careful, you could just be like, I'm within 2 inches of you and I'm going to kill you. And then they're like, I'm going to charge you. And they're like, now I'm going to have accurate sting, bang, bang.
Stun.
Yeah. Bing, bang, ding, dang, sting. Yeah, you're dead. You know, like, all right, that's fantastic. You know, you could go back to one of our first battle reports for this edition and watch Giacomo beat the ever-living crap out of my Blades of Cain. Now, was I playing Blades of Cain efficiently? Probably not, knowing how well their ceaseless boys are now. But, you know, that's besides the point. That's besides the point.
Yes. I think I'm on board with you. I think A tier is where they kind of fall, and it is communion points. Just like it's just one little extra thing you have to worry about now.
They're an easy team to get to right now, so I'd probably put them near the top of A tier,
near top of it, maybe
even in front of Scouts.
Yeah, I would say in front of Scouts feels right because they literally come with the Aquilon. In fact, the only way to get them. They've released them separately now. They've since released them separately because they usually do those box releases. But because they're the starter box of the edition, you find them everywhere. eBay has them. Your friends who bought one or the other team probably has the opposite. So you can get either pretty easily. If you come to our Learn How to Do stuff, if you're in the Southern California area, we sometimes give away some of the starting box teams. So, you know, there's always that to look forward to. They're very accessible. And I think that puts them up there a lot.
Pretty much all of our Learn How to Play kill teams, we give out an Aquilons team and a Vespids team and an approved ops team, and we try to give them to 3 different players.
Yes.
Now, Plague Marines and Angels of Death came in a box called the Starter Set. So obviously, these teams are going to be really easy to collect and paint, right? Typically,
there is an asterisk. There's an asterisk. Yes,
there's an asterisk. I think we could just move Plague Marines over to
just
S
give them
tier.
the S tier. They're tanky. They're Marines. They have cool rules, and
they are a phenomenal team. They are one of the best teams in the game currently. You just want to literally roll face like this is the team you play. They're nurgly. People like the nasty aesthetic. I'm not that guy, but
Plague Marines I mess with.
Yeah. So tell us about Angels of Death and why there's an asterisk around that team.
So when this team was ending its life in second edition, you actually came up with this thought. What if they just slammed the two teams together? And it turns out they did exactly that. So what that meant was you got the 7 specialists from that, what was the team called? What was the leader called?
Kill Team Justin Timberlake.
Kill
Team Justian.
Yes, that's right. So when the Justian team was around, similar to the Plague Marines, where they were you are correct, in their blister box, those buy ones, they're like, why don't we just give that to people? So they did. And in theory, you could just play with those 7 models from the starter box. However, there's 2 things that could happen. You might already own intercessors from the previous edition, but you don't own Justian. In order to play with the options, and some of these options are good. Sometimes you want the heavy intercessor. Sometimes you do want the plasma pistol power weapon, power fist. You're going to need to buy them or make them yourself. And it's much more expensive to make them yourself than to buy this box set. So in a way, you do have to buy the intercessors, the assault intercessors, and these guys. Now, again, because their Space Marines are so popular, you can find better deals and better ways to get it. There's alternatives, a bunch of them, but it's still just a lot of purchasing in the beginning. So I can't quite endorse them into an S tier because of this, because there's a lot to collect without realizing it.
If you don't buy the starter box, you're going to have to buy a Space Marine captain. You're going to have to buy an intercession assault squad. You're going to have to buy an intercession squad. Then you're going to have to buy a heavy intercessor squad. And then you're going to have to buy eliminators, right? That's 5 boxes. That's a lot. If you buy the starter box, right, you're probably going to have to buy another box of intercession, or you can split one with a buddy. Right. And a box of assault intercessors. Right. And you can split that with a buddy. So let's just say you buy one box and, your buddy buys one box and you split half and half. Unfortunately, I guess that there is a grenade guy you could use in the starter set, but that means both of you have to buy the starter box and then both of you have to buy one additional box. And that's if you have a friend who also wants to play AOD. Right.
Yeah.
So if you don't, you got to buy the starter box, which you're getting 2 teams, Plague Marines and those, and then you're going to have to buy 2 more boxes on top of it.
Yes. So it starts adding up with a lot of things like, and GW in theory is trying to make sure that Space Marines are always like one of the beginners, and this time they didn't quite nail it as well. But I will give them this props. At least they sell the team, because in last edition, you had to own them or buy the intercessor boxes. So at least you can play the team. Not as optimal. Also,
the rules for AOD are really, really simple. In fact, they are the most played kill team, period. Right? Over 10% of all competitive kill teams games are played with AOD. And there's like 40 something teams. So 10% are played with just AOD, right? So obviously they are easy enough to collect. Obviously, right? There's thousands of Space Marines everywhere. If you already have a Space Marine army, right? Or you have a couple here and there, or you can just bug your homie and be like, hey dude, give me that captain. He'll say no. Give me that space. Like give me the assault intercessor. Be like, all right, bro, I got you. You need 1? I need like 3. All right, no problem.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
So
it's pretty simple. You can split a couple boxes. Like you could split a heavy intercessor box with 5 people, technically. Or
if you
need one.
if you have heavy bolters, you could put them on a 40 mil, just make them a little thicker. It's a weird team with the asterisk. Like in theory, this should be S and A material in my eyes, but I just can't put it there because of like.
For me, I'm going to put them at the very back of A tier.
I can live with that.
Just because like they're almost in B tier because of how many boxes you have to buy, but the rules are super simple. The team is really easy to run, and it's the most popular team in all of Kill Team. This is probably going to be the one of the teams, like if you're watching this video, you waited or you skipped to this moment just to be like, hey, what do they think about AOD? You know, ho, ho, ho.
Well, they're falling in A.
Yeah, and Giacomo also painted this.
Yeah.
This model.
My Imperial Fist model from many, many years ago.
And then Saya from Tabletop Mayhem painted our Rattlings model. This is Rosie the dog. Obviously the best model from Rattlings. A very small pug or Boston Terrier, depending on how you paint it. Rattlings are a 2-box team, period. You could buy just the Rattlings and play just Rattlings. You're going to have a lot of problems when you run into any type of melee team. They're going to run at you. You're just going to keep falling back. Now you can't be on objectives. It's going to be hard, right? The team is immensely better when you play with Ogryns. And the Ogryns, unfortunately, unless you're good with magnetizing, the Ogryns, you're going to have to buy 3 boxes of Ogryns just to be like, all right. And Ogryns are like $60 each. You can be like, all right,
for 3.
These guys got a slab shield and a hammer. These guys got the slab shield and a gun. These guys have these little brute shield and a hammer or gun, whatever whatever it is.
And you're not taking the Ripper gun, unfortunately.
Me, I'm like, I'm not spending this much money on Ogryns. I'm going to magnetize it. And I don't magnetize models anymore. I just rather buy the models. I just rather have more. I'm like, oh yeah, why not? I'll just have more models. I'm at that plastic crack addiction in my life.
I get that. On the topic of magnetizing, I actually needed to bring one thing up with Aquilons. You will have to magnetize one model, but it's not hard because it already has the holes.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's the gun turret.
Oh, okay.
All you got, it already has a hole with a magnet that fits. I forget the millimeter. I'll try to remember it. And then you just cut the peg off and put the other magnet on there. You're done.
Just like the Eldar. It's the old Eldar way that we used to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you don't even have to do that. Honestly, I've seen people just like, I just took it out of the peg and plugged the other gun in and call it a day. It doesn't hold very well, but it works. Sure. Just wanted to give that caveat for the special weapons since we're talking about magnetizing. But yes, back to Ogryns. You would want to magnetize them unless you really want to buy at minimum 6 Ogryns, the Bulgrins specifically, the ones with the slab shields. Or the little buckler shields.
They're big.
Yeah. But you do need them for the team. Like our buddy Andrew was playing them. And the only time he was really finding success was when he started using the Ogryns because like Dakotah mentioned, if you don't have them holding that front, then you're going to have your dudes just keep getting pushed back. They don't have the staying power and you need the Ogryns for it.
I got like 6 wounds.
They die in a hit. Yeah.
They're slow, they're little dudes, but they pack a lot of wallop,
Oh yeah, the ranged weapons are phenomenal. Snipers are still they got good snipers.
I could put them at the bottom of B.
I think that is pretty fair. Like although you could play them out the box because their rules when they don't have Ogryns gives them a lot of advantages. But you do want the Ogryns, and I thought they were going to provide them in the box. They didn't, and that's okay. Not the end of the world.
Yeah, I think I play them without Ogryns when I play on stream, and I've been relatively successful with them.
Yeah, so there's still play, but you do want those Ogryns.
Yeah, you're not going to be super competitive. And Ogryns, like giant models with 16 wounds, more wounds than a typical Space Marine. You're like, why wouldn't I want these guys on my team?
Right, and they hit like a truck. Yeah, like they're crazy.
You could buy one box and split it with 3 friends, and each of you just takes one, and you'll immediately have a better Rattlings team.
You're right. Yeah.
All 3 of your friends will.
And that is the truth.
It is. Wrecker Crew's up next. This is this is a 2-box, right?
No, actually, this is a 1-box. People will argue that, you want a second one for the leader, but everyone who's ever played this competitively says you take the double pistols. I like the hammer and the pistol aesthetically, but the double pistols is better on the leader. This is a one box team.
I have heard that you competitively.
You're totally right.
Take the warriors with rocket launchers sometimes, and sometimes you don't want to take one of the guys that typically comes in the box.
Yeah, you don't take the Rocket Man. You take the hammer version of him instead. You're totally right. I forgot about that. You do want at least 2 extra operatives, and one of them is going to be the Rocket Warrior, and one's going to be the Hammer Warrior. I forget their names right now. But yes, you're right. So
they're really simple, though. I put them in A tier.
Yeah, A tier for sure. Just because of the buying thing. Otherwise, this would have been an absolute S. You're totally right. Absolute A tier. Great team.
Where do we want to put them in here?
I put him closer to Legionnaires.
You think so? In front of Espits?
Yeah.
All right.
I think you have more fun. People love orcs.
Yeah. They're a very fun team to play.
Yeah. I still have a blast playing them every now and then. Maybe I'll play them this week. Who knows? Switch it up. Been playing a lot of Casterkin because of their release.
Blast, Lols.
Yeah, they're the first team that was like, hey, I don't like your equipment, break it. Like, that was such a cool mechanic, and everyone was like, oh, it's so much fun. And now we're at the end with the 2 most controversial teams on this list outside of Inquisition.
We are. Yes. Now we have Goremongers and we have Sanctifiers. Goremongers are up first. For a long time, I thought they were a 1-box skill team until the competitive players all told me that sometimes you want to drop certain models for a bunch of warriors.
Aspirants are good. Very good.
Aspirants are good. So they are 100% a 2-box kill team.
Mm-hmm.
They are a complicated team on top of that, right? They are a complicated team.
They do require a little more thinking with the way their gore mechanic works, their gore things.
Gore tanks.
But they're also insanely strong.
Yeah, they're really, really good.
They are you can be secretly forgiven because you're like, oh, I'm gonna shoot this guy and he's gonna die, and then they don't die because of their minimum damage they can take in shooting, and then they can charge you and totally be fine. It's crazy how survivable they are, like how deceptively survivable they are.
Yeah, and then they heal and stuff like that. But I will say the hard part of this team is knowing when these models heal, when to heal them, when to use their gore tanks, how to efficiently like make them use gore tanks without actually having to use gore tanks. The terrain that they're on, because they are a melee team, right? And also they do feel a lot more fragile in like not top level competitive players' hands because they only have 8 models and wounds. And while I say that and I feel crazy saying that, there are people who still struggle with this team to play them effectively because they are a higher skill cap team. This team has in my opinion, has a really high skilled ceiling, right? They also have a very low skill ceiling. If you misposition or you let your models get shot or anything like that, you will just kind of lose with Goremongers, even though they can do a bunch of crazy stuff. If you're halfway competent, if you're not just a pure absolute noob, even if you're a noob playing another noob, disguised as another noob, right? You will just annihilate some people, right? Like, that's just how they're going to work. I think the team is relatively difficult to pilot correctly, but does that move them out of A tier, G?
No. I think they're like, all these cons aside, once you throw them at your friend who's like also learning the game, they're going to ask, why can't I do that? Because they're just going to be, this is just so much better. And even when
just play Felgor, and then you'll just beat them with these guys anyways.
There you go. That's more of an even fight. Which is funny because when you're learning this, if this is the box that you split with somebody, the Sanctifier friends might feel like they got the worst deal, but let's go into it. I don't think that's the case.
I don't either.
I think.
What do you think, G? Now you've seen me play this team 3 times now. I played you once, you beat me, and then I won the next 2 games.
Mm-hmm. And that was because you forgot some of the rules.
I only lost to you because I forgot a rule.
And that's one of the things is there's a lot to read on these guys. They have a little bit of a fatigue compared to their counterparts, which is like, did I go forward and did I hit you? All right, bet.
And they are a 2-box skill team because a lot of times you're going to build all of the normal warriors. You're going to build all the normal people, and then on certain matchups, you're going to want to have a couple extra preachers. Now, you could just do the I think it's the Crawdor gang from Necromunda. You can take some of those models and they kind of look similar, so you don't have to buy a full another box, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You could split a box of Crawdor people to also play with Sanctifiers. So they are you can play them as one box. I've never bought another box and I've still won 2 games.
They're also just that good because once you know, like they have all really good tricks from like every team. Which of course, if you put the best stuff in stuff, eventually it's going to probably become the best. I don't think we've seen it in our scene where someone's fully cracked it yet, but I know it's out there.
No one has actually brought Sanctifiers to any of our competitive events so far. I think that's going to change at the All Valley Team Tournament.
I think so too.
Speaking of which, the All Valley Team Tournament is our second largest event of the year. We will hopefully break up to 84 players this year. If you're looking to come to a great tournament, which is great for friendlies, beginners, right? Because you get to win and lose with your friends. It is a 1v1v1. It's a 3-person team event. That is happening on June 20th and 21st and 22nd. That is about a month away from us recording this. It's a very fun time if you're looking to come out and learn and play. And we even have some crazy narrative maps. So it's not just pure competitive. It's 66% competitive and 33% crazy boards,
and 1% painting. I'm kidding. There's actually a big old portion of the forge brush if you want to just come to just show off your skills at painting, right? Maybe you just want to play kill team during the day and get win the painting competition, which is the forge brush. Details of that on the website. And you can get the tickets. They'll be in the description, whether you listen to the podcast or on YouTube, or you can also check out our website. That is squad-games.net. And you will see our events tab, which will have the All Valley Team Tournament, which you can purchase tickets for. And there's a bunch of cool things we have going for that as well, such as a special micro trays for the VIP tickets, early access to stuff, and additional goodies as well. So you can check that all on the website. Now back to the boys at hand.
Yeah, I mean,
where are they falling?
I mean, I hate to put them in A tier. I think they're in A tier because really? I think the rules are very difficult for them. It's really easy to overplay your hand and move up too aggressively, move up too fast. They are super fragile. You can lose with them. But coming from a veteran guard background where I've played a lot of shooty hordes,
right.
Shooty hordes are very simple for me just because I've played them for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
If I was going to play this game competitively, this is the team I would take. If I brought this team to an event, people would look at me like I'm an asshole, right? It's just that simple. Be like, oh, of course you would bring them. And I'd be like, for the emperor, that's 100% what I would do. But, I haven't really been playing anything like super competitive this year. I've been focusing mostly on TOing, community building and building maps and other things like that. And, I think the team is absolutely the most broken team in the game.
Currently, yeah.
I think they are the strongest team in the game. They even got a nerf when the game first released because Games Workshop realized that they must have realized how strong the team was, right? So I think that
I think it was a secret buff because it means you can't overextend in the first turn anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that it stops is like you can't just nuke.
Right, your melt is not getting to that one guy really fast and just taking him out anymore.
I would say that you just can't nuke off the board. Like any kind of like 6 model team, because you could before start the game, move up, last activation, you could like double move a Melta up and then just like kill a Space Marine or get really close to killing a Space Marine. If you win the next activation, you could then go possibly kill another Space Marine with just one model. And heaven forbid they overextended and you have a melee guy who could go kill another Space Marine or at least get close to it, right? You could just start trading really well with them. I think that the team will be a little bit more difficult into those matchups, but everything else, like it stops that like urge. Because when you're playing the team, right, Giacomo, when I'm playing the team, I'm looking at Sanctifiers and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be more passive. I'm gonna let them come to me. I'm just gonna cook them. And then I'm looking at the board. I'm like, oh, but he just moved up a little bit. It's really early to get. I could do this, and I could kill that model. Oh, and then I could kill that model too if I just did this. And then you're like, and then your brain starts going like whirling, and you're like, oh, and you don't know what happens, and you killed both of those models. And then people are like, oh no, you're so mean, You
were just playing the team.
Yeah, I'm just playing Sanctifiers.
I think they can't be below A because you really, sure, you can build all the other options, but if you just played with the box set that came out,
you still win.
You still win so many games. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And it's one of those, like the learning curve. It might start low, but it'll rise so fast. Cause once you realize you can do everything and like stop your opponents from doing so much stuff, like it's just crazy. Like, cause how fast you started learning the team,
I'm going to put them in front of Sanctifiers, right?
Or in front of Goremongers?
Goremongers. Just because Star Striders are a true one box. Vespids are a true one box. Legionary a true one box. Wrecker Crew, I don't know why they're up that high. Giacomo said so. I'm not going to argue with him.
From a box buying perspective is the only thing that brings them down. The fun meter is at like 400, like out of 10. It's fun.
Sanctifiers do sink down as well because their rules are complicated, right? So we want to make sure that we're, keeping that into mind for new players as well. They got a lot of auras, a lot of abilities, there's a lot of mental load. If you're going to take these guys ever to an event or your plan is to ever play an event, if your plan is never to play in an event, that's fine too. Right. But I don't see these guys being because of their rules, they might not be super popular just because they are a large mental load just to go to play at a game store. Like, oh, I can do this. I got this gotcha. I could do this, and this. I don't know if they'll be that popular in just like a non-competitive environment, right?
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they aren't really good.
Yeah, they're very good. Like I've played against somebody who is relatively new to the game with Sanctifiers, and even I'm still like kind of sweating bullets. Like if I miss position with all the amount of the gameplay I have, like I could still go down. Like you can't really make that mistake with them because even they'll see like the obvious, oh, I can do this, right? And then just take you out. Like
it's like, oh, you're going to charge me with your leader and fight? I'm going to say your leader can't fight. And now I'm going to fight.
Yeah. Like once you realize how good he is, like, oh, their orator's really strong.
You're going to throw a grenade at me? Nope, not today. You're not allowed to do the shoot action anymore.
Because you're within 6. There you go. Oh, is it 6 or 3 inches?
Oh, I think it's 6.
Yeah, which is it's good. It's very good. So yeah, even people who are just kind of learning and just kind of glance at their rules are like, oh yeah, I could do this, and it does happen. It's strong. Definitely A tier. I think that's the best spot for it. And looking back at the whole thing, I don't think there's any changes I would make.
Not really.
Not really. And where you could say like Brood Brothers is pretty close to Sanctifiers. The only thing is Brood Brothers is more expensive because you do want those other things. And that's probably the thing that's a little bit that and there.
And the question is, are these in like the exact right order for the C tier or whatever? Maybe not.
But like, they're like, so when we look at it S tier, like if you buy this team, you'll have a great time. You'll learn how to play it. You won't have a problem. Same thing with A tier, right? There might be a little bit more of a learning step you have to do, but once you do it, you'll have fun. You'll have a great time.
Or more money investment.
And B tier is like, now, okay, you have a little more money. You've been playing it for a little bit, or you're already into Warhammer. So like the cost isn't as big of a factor for you. And you like these more specialized teams. Great. C tier, same as kind of B, but now like,
there's definitely a money investment.
And you're definitely having to learn more about this team, like a lot more. kind of early, and D tier, it's a bit of money, a lot of money, and it's a lot of learning.
Of money.
I'm pretty satisfied with this because if you look from S to B, it's a pretty good spread from S to B. There's a lot of teams you can choose and probably be sacified with. Sorry to the top players and Necron players.
A lot of the brand new teams and I didn't realize this, but the last season of the last edition and then this season has really put a ton of teams in the S and A tier for beginner friendly-ish teams. We'll have to see if that continues, right? I couldn't imagine an AdMech team being easy to pilot with servitors, but it could be, right? It definitely could be easy.
And who knows how those the Ravagers, right? Like, who knows what their rules are? They have a lot of funky looking models, so like.
And there's only 5 of them, so they're either going to be real easy or they're going to be real hard.
that's going to be the case, and I think that's a good thing, right? I think GW's is going in a good direction with the amount of models you release per box and getting the most out of it without having to invest too much more. That's really important for players, I think, who want to get into the game, whose idea of this game is I can buy the one box and be pretty satisfied, where the 40K counterpart is I know I have to buy more units.
Yeah,
right.
I think if we look at it, you can see a lot of like the old White Dwarf teams really, really like bad, not doing super like in the lower tiers, right? I think Rattlings is our lowest team from this edition. Everything else is in A or S.
Yeah, and it's only in B, and B is still very like you could still make it work.
Oh yeah.
So that's still a good sign.
But again, remember, like the most important thing is to play the game, is to paint your models, is to have fun, right?
Yep.
And the easiest way to do that is to choose a team that you like. Choose a team. Don't listen. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to Giacomo. You don't have to listen to any content creator. Go with your heart. Do what the Emperor tells you. Kill chaos. Burn them. Sorry.
Or whatever the Chaos Gods make you want to do. If you like Plague Marines and Nemesis Claw. This is just advice. So like you see this list and just kind of like, okay, this is a good way to at least, maybe you had like 4 options in your head and you're like, okay, maybe now there's just 2 options in my head. If this helps you get down to 2 options is much easier than 4 options.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Did anyone ask anything else on our Patreon? Let's go over here as we're going to start rounding out the episode, Let's see if anyone has any questions.
So if you're listening now and you're a Patreon member, you'll have known you were hearing this ahead of time. And if those listeners in the future are listening and you want to join the Patreon, you can. We do this kind of stuff for you, doing like the podcast live, so you can kind of see it as it's happening. You get a bunch of other perks too on our Patreon. You can check that out as well. And we really appreciate your support.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of our patrons have been saying, Colts have 3 boxes, minimum. What else were they saying? Exaction Squad, let's go. Phobos teach you bad habits for normal gameplay. There's definitely some biases in these chats, There's like one guy who only plays Phobos, right?
He played Orcs recently. He did Commandos. He did.
That was amazing. Yeah. That was amazing.
He's really maturing.
Yeah, then you have Alex who's doing a bunch of others, right? So that's pretty exciting. And I don't know if they have any more. David also has said that Sanctifiers should be put in F tier because they take the fun out of the game as they stop murder snuggles. Because when David was playing me on stream, he tried to move within 2 inches and then blow all of us up with a frag grenade. And when he moved to within 2 inches, I said, "You're not allowed to throw frag grenades." Made him very upset.
Yep. They can suck the fun.
They can suck the fun out of a lot of things.
Just know that going into it, if you decide to play that team, that there might be a little bit of a stigma of that. But if you're still having fun, whatever.
Yeah, that's what matters, right? That's what matters. Beginners, we want you to play Kill Team, to have fun in Kill Team, Because without brand new players, we wouldn't have events, right?
Right.
People always fall off eventually, right? We wouldn't have a community to talk to, period, right? So I just want to give a shout out to every brand new player, anyone who's watching this video, even to this late into the game. I do want to, or into the video or podcast. Thank you very much. If you disagree with us, go ahead and put it down in the comments on our YouTube video, or go on our Discord, which you can join, and tell us how wrong we actually are, because guess what? We're wrong a lot.
A lot.
And that's okay. The only thing I'm not wrong on is when I'm being a judge at an event and I'm like, yes and no. That's it. That's the only time that I am absolutely infallible.
Your absolute authority.
Absolute authority. Giacomo, what about you, brother? You have any shout outs for us?
Of course, like you mentioned, you can join the conversation on Discord or in the YouTube comments. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, or many of the other podcast options available, consider giving us a rating. That always helps us so that we can be found and more people can hear about Kill Team and other games, mostly Kill Team though. Check out the other things on YouTube, such as the Battle Reports, the Hobby Highlander, and probably more to come, more of the stats show. That's always a cool one if you really like getting to the nitty gritty of competitiveness. You can check out our Instagram, the squad_games_entertainment. I'll be posting the pictures from the Boys Bash from this last weekend on there pretty soon, and they'll be there on the Discord as well. And like we mentioned earlier, the AVTT is coming up. That's June 21st, June 22nd. That is pretty close. That's in the LA area. So if you want to go ahead and do that, again, check it out on squad-games.net. Under the events tab, you'll see it there. And if not, we'll see you at LVO. LVO tickets are live right now, so you can use our link in the description to get your tickets. That does include the badge, if I remember. Is that correct? It includes the badge now?
So there's one that is just the ticket and you have to buy the badge separately. And then there's one that is, I think it's the premium package, has the event badge and the ticket included along with additional swag. So you can kind of choose your poison, right? So that's always fun and exciting.
Yes. So look out for that. And we hope to see you at LVO. We hope to see you at AVTT, or we just hope to see you in the comments.
Yeah. And if we don't see you there, hopefully we will stream Worlds again this year, if we're allowed to. And if we are, then hopefully you'll come and watch the stream there in November. And hopefully you're become a big fan. There's a lot of other great content creators here on YouTube. You have Glass Half Dead. You have Can You Roll a Crit? You have, please don't let me forget people, right? We have Vox Cascadia. We have Battle Brothers Ben. We have Threes to Wound. We have Reese and Russ and Battle Brothers Ben again from Kill Team Casuals. We have Just Another Kill Team podcast. We also have Once Upon a Kill Team, which is another podcast. Goodness gracious. There's a bunch of other, there's Mountainside Tabletop. They do wonderful battle reports. We do battle reports. There's a bunch of Kill Team content creators out there. And, I just want us all to succeed so that we can continue seeing the growth of this wonderful game and seeing this community get bigger and better. There's also Command Point. How could I almost forgot Command Point.
A classic.
Yeah, classic. So there's a bunch of great, and if I forgot you as a content creator, I apologize. I don't have any of these written down. These are just,
top of your dome.
People at top of the dome, It's bound. It's just like in Kill Team. Sometimes you forget a rule, It's just like, oh yeah.
That's a D tier. Yeah. That's a D tier team. It's harder to remember. I get it.
Exactly.
D tier for beginners. Definitely not D tier in an actual tier list.
Dugginers. Yeah, so it should be good. We're going to stay live for our patrons. We want to give a big shout out to them. They help make the show possible. They help us keep us going. So we're going to stream to them for a couple more minutes, but we're going to end the video here. If you want to join us on Patreon, you want to join us there, come in early to our events, see that extra stuff, see some behind the scenes photos and videos. Check us out there. But until next time, everyone.
The Squad Games podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at squadgames.net or check out our YouTube channel at Squad Games Entertainment.